Today we are in our garden. You know, a few months ago, Susie and I and our kids came out here, prepared the soil, planted the seeds, watered, and then dreamed about pulling fresh, long orange carrots out of the ground.
Something like that.
Ah,
But there is a problem in this garden,
yeah.
and that is the weeds. We did not plant them. We do not want them, but they grew and they grew and they grew and they grew taller and taller. Some of them are taller than I am.
Yes. And definitely taller than the carrots, thus blocking out all the light, choking out these sweet little carrots. And maybe we should have pulled the weeds when they were small.
Maybe.
You know, along the way, pull them. The soil was soft, pull them out.
I'm new to gardening. Well, it reminds us Jesus told this parable in Matthew where he records, it's right after the parable of the sower in Matthew 13. It's the parable of the wheat and the weeds. And Jesus said that as the wheat grew, weeds were also growing alongside the wheat. And the farmers asked the owner, "Didn't you buy good seed?" As if like looking for somebody to place the blame, to point the finger at.
Yeah. And I wonder, did they feel like the blame was going to be coming on them? You know, the blame is going to fall on them. So, no, the blame goes not to them. And the owner says, hey, it was an enemy. An enemy did this. So they asked, what do we do next? And then he's like, just leave the weeds. And when we harvest, I'll have the harvesters come and they will get the weeds first. You know, that's what the owner says. No blame, just this is what we're going to do.
Now, what stands out to me in Jesus's parable is who is in charge. Who's the owner here? In the farming illustration, Jesus is pointing us, really pointing us to remember who's in charge here, who's responsible, and in a sense, like, where does authority lie?
Yeah. And I can certainly relate to those farmers, because I see weeds, I see wrong things, I see things that are messed up, and I see the enemies, and I want to pull them out. I want to get rid of them, but it's not my job to deal with the weeds.
That can be a tough thing for sure. I want to, right? I want to be the one to deal with it. I want to pull out the weeds. I don't know if you have heard about this, but there are people who catch pickpockets and spray orange on their faces, and it actually dyes their skin for several weeks. And they do this so that everybody knows who the pickpockets are. And, sometimes if I'm honest, I want to be like on that team, tagging everyone who's out of line. But in this story, Jesus is reminding me that is not my job.
Yeah. And I very much like that the farmers won't even have to deal with the weeds at harvest. The owner instructs the harvesters what to do. A whole different group of people, the harvesters will come. And this emphasizes that it's simply not my job. And that's Jesus's message here. You have your job, the farmers has their job, and the harvesters have their job. God has God's job. Just the point is stay in your lane.
Yes.
What's your job?
Yeah, stay in your lane. Exactly. How do we do this is really the question. How do we allow other people to be in process, to allow people to be maybe what we see as weeds, and trust that God is at work in their life, and believing that God can redeem them and whatever it is they're having in their lives, holding hope for them, even when it just seems like, whew, what a mess.
Yes. It seems like step one seems to be knowing what's my job, knowing that it's not my job to pull the weeds. God is responsible for that, and trusting that God will do that job. My job is to be the hands and feet of love and kindness, gentleness and patience and hope, to bring God's love into this world. And so in order to do that, it requires me receiving that first from God and then sharing it with grace to others. That's step one.
That's right, because we can't give what we've not first received. God is at work, and there are weeds, and we hold these two things together. So may you know what is yours to do and what is not yours to do today. Amen?
Amen.